prior to reaching out to Richard and said, "Hey, do you want to do these radomes for the Tamiya and Kinetic F-16 so we don't have to worry about the two-piece radome?" And as you can see, because both kits come with that, and as you can see, if you have either kit in 48 scale, you'll notice that the radome is broken in half right where that giant long, what I like to affectionately call a zipper, is straight down the middle, and it breaks the radome in half. That's really hard to replicate. So I had mentioned it to Drew, and Richard got on it like there's no tomorrow. And within about a day and a half, maybe 2 days, he sends me this render. And I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. So essentially now, that was earlier this past week. I have printed a whole bunch for Tamiya. And please, if you guys look at these pictures, you go, what's all that slag? These are fresh off the printer and they have not been washed. They literally, that's just the resin that just, it's on a plate and it goes up and down in liquid. So that literally just came off the printer. And if you look to the top right, behind the IMC logo, there's one of my wash stations. So those all end up in a basket in a wash station. And then they get cleaned. Well, there you go. And that's kind of the end result. I wash them twice in different, cleanliness of 91% isopropyl alcohol. And then I let them dry, and then I cure them in a curing machine. But these ones here are for the Tamiya F-16 in 48 scale. And then I have also released, which they are different slightly, Kinetic 2 versions. The 2022 and newer version, which would be like the gold level kits or whatever they call them, the Kinetic Gold kits. And then I also released them for the old original issue Kinetic kits with what we used to call the droop snoot because the nose was all messed up. It doesn't correct the nose. It just gives you the single piece radome if you decide to build one of the older ones. What you'll also see here is we've also included the AOA covers, which you can use or not. The kit AOA probes fit perfectly into those holes that you can see there on the radome. And again, sorry, these are iPhone pictures. I'm working on getting a camera and figuring it out. But this is for the Tamiya kit right here. You won't see a visible real difference from this and the Kinetic kit until you cut the supports off. And then there's a slight difference in the way the nose mounts. And the Kinetic kit comes with an adapter that slides basically. It helps you align the nose cone to the kit. So yeah, I mean, in the last 24 hours, the Tamiya ones alone, I've sold about 200 units. And the Kinetic ones, between both versions, about 125 sets. So they're popular, and I try to keep the price down to make it worthwhile. But again, these guys will be available at the 48ers hopefully fairly soon, and you can always order direct from me, and they'll be on my eBay page as well if you prefer to go that route. So yeah, pretty exciting times. But we've got more coming for things that are probably up a lot of people's alley with the company named Airfix.
Who?
So, I can talk about that a little bit too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really excited right now about these radomes and the APKWS. I think they add a real nice, again, a niche product that, I'm sure someone like ResKit will come along and do them. That's fine. I don't care. I believe Edward did them in like a radar set, but they didn't they didn't release them by themselves. So, end of the day, we just saw, funnily enough, it was a customer that actually requested that we do them. We saw the need and went, let's bang them out. And Richard Van Zant is so fast at his design work, and it's so clean and well researched that I have virtually zero issues with anything he sends me. It really, and the same goes with Drew, because I know Drew product tests everything he gives me or sells me. He doesn't give me parts. I do pay for them. Let's make that clear. I'm very proud of the fact that, I have this relationship with Richard, and, we kind of have a mutual balance on our two companies. And I'm also really happy to carry his Flightline resin stuff at my store, which helps him get exposure. So there you go.
Mike, got a question here from Steve Moores, who says, any chance of anything in 1/18th scale, Mike Reeves?
Like what?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. 1/18th.
The only thing I can think that was done in 1/18th scale, and was it a Harrier?
Sabre.
And
didn't someone do a Sabre?
Maybe.
Because I think Mike Williams built it.
That sounds very 21st century toys-ish to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think who it was who did it.
Yeah.
But I will say, stay tuned. Parts for this are coming.
Oh, goody.
Lots of them.
Here we go. I think Hobby Time says Messerschmitt 262. Oh, Steve Moores. No, Steve Moores has corrected himself. Harrier, he says. Harrier.
So I got stuff coming for the Jag. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, John. I didn't hear you.
No, that's all right.
The Buccaneer S2 and the brand new Airfix Jag, we've got stuff already in works for. So trying to expand to not just American stuff. Mm-hmm. Get that market expanded. A lot of people have asked me to offer my early inboard pylons for the Eurofighter that I used to cast. We're working on those as well in 48th and 32nd. So lots of cool stuff coming. It may take a little bit for some of it, but one-man band, 6 printers behind me, both ways.
Droids.
It's a lot of work. In fact, I'm actually amazed these aren't running right now.
I am.
I don't know if you can see on this one. Those are F-16 radomes hanging right there.
Good Lord.
These are kinetic ones. I think there's 40 of them on here. So, yeah.
Check for you, Mike. The 72nd scale, you don't need a radome because it's all one piece.
I know. Same with 32nd.
I know.
They did it in 2 pieces in the 48 scale kit is a little odd to me. But I will say, I believe the Academy one in 32nd scale is a 2-piece. And I will say those are being worked on as well.
I'm glad you showed that kit, Chris, because believe it or not, the Tamiya, that 72nd scale F-16, I've got one of them. I've got 2 of them up in the attic, and I am desperately trying to find an excuse to build them at the moment because I've never built a 72nd scale F-16.
Oh wow! So I built one about maybe 4 years ago, but it was the Academy kit reboxed by Frog, and very nice model. The Tamiya kit, I want to build that because what I really wanted to build was one of the Turkish tiger meat examples, that the blue and the red tails with the tiger in the pilot's outfit throwing a snowball.
I've seen that. That's cool.
Really cool markings. And I think that's a block 50, and the Academy kit was a block 52. So this the as it says right on block 50 right here. So what I need is a block 50. So that's what I'm going to do. The other one's a 52. So I did the Nellis one. But yeah, it's a really fun subject in 72nd scale, especially the later ones.
Yeah, Tim Maunder, I'm sure he's talking about F-16s. He's not talking about Jaguars. He says proper parts for proper aeroplanes. I'm sure he's talking about F-16s.
Well done, Tim. Reach out to me and I'll make sure I get you some.
And Yoav Efreti says, is 1/72nd scale a dead scale?
No.
I'm not dead yet, as the saying goes.
I wouldn't say it's a dead scale from a modeler's perspective. In fact, I'd say it's kind of flourishing from a modeler's perspective. I would say it's kind of a dead scale for an aftermarket perspective. And
just going to say that.
Here's why.
Say that.
It doesn't sell.
Yeah.
Not
The
that we don't
margins
want to
are very
help you guys.
tight
Not that we don't want to help the 1/72nd scale builders. But if we go through all the time and research and for us, resin and printing, running our printers, wear them out. In fact, this one right here is dead. It's being replaced next week. It's only a year old, year and a half. Brand new Elegoo Saturn IV, $500 printer. If I'm running a bunch of 72nd scale and I'm just sitting out in my workshop, it doesn't do me any financial good as a business owner.
I was going to say, Mike, that is the issue with doing 72nd scale accessories. It's just the margins, isn't it?
Well, it's the margins and
the market.
The market, and certainly you can. The argument is, well, you can just print 5 sets in 72nd scale. Okay, but that also ties up that printer for something that's not really selling when it could be tied up for something that is really selling those. So I think 72nd scale, and as a modeler, the kits tend to be less expensive in most cases. I won't say all, most cases, because they require less plastic and things like that and packaging, blah, 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 blah. We can go into all that all day. But they also tend to want aftermarket that is much better than what's available in the kit, which is kind of hard to do when some of it's that big. And no one can really see it at that close, other than you, the modeler, right?
Yep.
Well, so, I can offer a counterpoint because
Chris, I know you're a 72nd scale guy, so
yeah. And much of the stuff that the Obscureco sells is 72nd scale, and we have I think what we're succeeding on is the fact that we're playing into a market that is underserved, right? So whenever I go to the National, people come to the booth, what's new, because they're not getting serviced by anybody else. When it comes to the cockpits and stuff like that, you got to pick stuff that really works. We did the Jet Provost a long time ago. Great big glass expanse.
Oh yeah,
you can't see what's in there,
you
right?
Can see there.
Yeah, things like that make sense. Doing like a jet with a tiny little opening for the cockpit maybe doesn't make any sense. Or
a seamless exhaust in a Vampire.
Yeah, I mean it's neat to have, but not really necessary to build the model. What you have to do is you have to balance out what your production looks like. You have to balance out what your inventory looks like, make sure it makes sense. Having somebody knock out 50 copies of something or 200 copies of something or 500 copies of something is great, except now you might have inventory for the rest of your life, and it may just be taking up space in your garage.
Yeah.
It's got to be a labor of love. If you don't love that scale, you're going to do crappy work. That's the reality of it.
Dave Fleming makes a very good point. He says cost versus delivery. Cost means 72nd from the States is expensive, and it's also less popular in the US.
Yeah, postage is getting out of control for us. I mean, Mike can attest to this. It was 6 years ago. It was much more affordable to mail things anywhere than it is now. The damage to the International Postal Congress that's been done by our government and other things has really screwed up a lot of the pricing to send things overseas, and it's kind of a crying shame when it costs like what a minimum of $11 to send things to Canada.
Minimum.
Yeah, a minimum.
It's $16 for me to mail a box, a small 6x6 by 2 inch box to Canada. It costs $16 if it's under 8 ounces.
Yeah.
The second it goes above 8 ounces, It's $31. And guess what?
Right.
I charge far less than what it actually costs. So when someone from Canada orders something that's 8.5 ounces, I just lost money on my order.
Yeah.
A chunk of money. And as a small business, that's a pain point.
I was just going to say, Mike. It's I know it's not. I know sending postcards to the States at the moment. I know this isn't America's fault, but sending postcards to the States has almost doubled in the last couple of years. It now costs about £3.50 for me to put an airmail stamp for a postcard to America. I used to send postcards to the States all the time. Not doing it quite so much now.
Yeah, now you got a budget. You got to put a list together. Who really deserves a postcard?
Maybe I'll just do an email version.
Yes. Brilliant stuff, Mike. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Mike, we are going to give you because are you going to stay?
I'll hang for a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
If you don't mind.
No, that's
you guys
fine.
chat.
That's not right. Well, what we'll do is we'll dive on in. We'll dive on to the news items. Dave Fleming did make a. We did Dave's point. It's been a long day. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. Right. Shall we dive on with the other news? And it's a shame Drew's not here tonight, because this, he is here in a sense. This is Clear Prop, and they're doing a 48 scale F15E 1/5. Now, some of you are going to be thinking, well, what's so significant about this? Well, viewer Drew, before he retired to his sick room today, did scribble some notes for us. So he did say, just for info, the F-16E supplanted the F-16E. The F-86E supplanted the F-86A in Korea. It introduced the all-flying tail. All E's were slatted, as were early F models. The hard 6.3 wing coming in with the F-86 F-30 for enhanced high-speed maneuverability at the expense of landing speed. First real F-86E model I'm aware of. The pics appear to show a model with the bigger tail fairings for the all-flying stabs, but with A model stabilizers. So presumably a quick slap together. But there we go. That's Drew's take on why this is a significant release in 1/48 scale. And I'm sure we're going to get some comments as well. Slats. What did I say, Dave? What's Drew written it down as? He has written stats. Goodness me. Stabs. Yeah. Bigger tail fairings for all flying stabilizers. Yeah. Anyway. So there we go. So it's a shame Drew's not here to talk about this, but because he'd do a better job with it than I have. But but having seen one of these Clear Prop F-86s, I photographed the one that Drew brought up the other week, the 72nd scale A, absolutely beautiful. So they are definitely a company to watch.
Yeah, it's a significant model, of course, because as Drew's pointed out in conversation, all the previous models have been Fs, with mainly with the 6.3 wing and the Academy kit. I think Academy might have issued one with the slatted wing, but it was on the wrong wing style. So that's a really important model from a point of view of Korean War F-86s in particular. So yeah, and they've that's nailed another big seller for Clear Prop very quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great. It's a great addition. The whole F-86 wing saga, which airplanes had which wings, is incredible. My friend down in New Zealand, Keith Bunyan, he was really into Sabre and the wings. And one of my favorite moments was we went to the Castle Air Museum and there was an F-86. I think it was an H, but it had slatted wings. And Keith's like, "There's only 8 of those." You know, that was a real rarity for that model of Saber.
Yeah.
The fact that ClearProp's providing that is pretty awesome, and it could open the door to a lot of different models for a lot of different types down the road, and a lot of different interesting modifications to build specific airplanes.
Yeah.
So it's really great to see this airplane getting its due finally. I think there's been good kits in the past of individual marks of the airplane. But
look at that; those look good.
Look at those great. Put one of those on F-86; it'll go like a shot.
Technical difficulties.
Might starve the engine.
Well, maybe. Well, it'll go straight down really fast. The fact that these things are existing now is really great, because these are not the easiest thing for the model makers to make, right? The engineering slatted wings so the attachment points don't break in the bag or in the box on the way to as people are assembling them or whatever. It's tough. It's actually an engineering challenge. So it's great to see.
I remember from Drew building one of those, and they come with photo etched under.
I think
what was one that had photo etched slat guides in it? And folding them, and it was in some.
It's a challenge, but it's there. It's a chance to actually do it. You know,
Mike Williams writes. He says, having built their F-86A 48 scale F-86A, this is ClearProp, I can attest they need a little bit of work, but the finished model is worth the effort. The panel lines and rivets and all the details are just superb. And I will echo that with the fact that when Drew brought up his 72nd scale A the other week, I was really, really impressed with it. In fact, the photographs are up on our Facebook page. So if you want to go and have a look at that. But yes, it's very, very nice. Absolutely. Really, really, like I say, they're a company to keep your eye on. We've also got Great Wall are doing this in 144th scale.
That's going to sell in bunches.
I was going to say this is a C-130J, and there we go. This is from their Facebook page, so they've annotated it to kind of like show all the details. There is an overview of the kit with the decal sheet, and I think there's canopy masks and other bits and pieces, but we'll just dive into the sprue shots there. Looks to be very logically broken down. There's not much different you can really do with a C-130, quite frankly. And it looks to be very cleanly molded. Obviously, those are, what do you call those props, Mike?
We call them the scythe props.
Right. And there comes with a metal weight, and there is an ancillary decal sheet and also a masking sheet, because there's
lifesaver.
A lifesaver. And then we've got the schemes, two-tone grey, and what have we got? 4th Special Operations Squadron, the 73rd Special Operations Squadron, the 17th Special Operations Squadron. I get the feeling, chaps, these all fly special operations. And then the 16th and the 17th. Was it somebody in the comments said something about it's one of those aircraft you want to be aware of it kind of banking to port, because that's where all the gubbins is. This is a relatively recent. The 144 scale C-130 is a relatively recent release from Great Wall, and so frankly, I am astounded nobody's ever really done one done a decent one in 144 scale. So I can imagine. I think Mike will bear me out. This, as you would say, Mike, this is going to sell gangbusters, isn't it?
I think so, just because of shelf space and the subject. It's a cool subject. I mean, it's a gunship.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the tip of the spear right now in the C-130 community, other than some of the the ones with all the radar arrays on them, which do all sorts of other fun stuff. These are literal, killing machines, for lack of a better term. And I think this is going to prove to be a really popular. The parts breakdown looks great and not complicated. So people that want to build a couple of them could probably snap them up and have them done in a reasonable amount of time, versus, let's say, an Italy 48 scale one, which could take you a year or more if you're really wanting to go into detail. So yeah, I think it's a great release. And I believe, Drew, if he was here, he could tell me if I'm wrong. I believe this is the first kit with those props in any scale.
No,
I think Italy have done it in.
Italy did it with those.
Yeah.
Who was it who did a new tool 72nd scale one? Was it Vesda or ICM?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, Ian. I completely forgot about that one, but I just think this is for the size, it's going to be a great seller.
Yeah. Even in 72nd scale, this thing gets to be pretty unwieldy, because I've got a Harvest Hawk KC-130 project in the works, and it's
this big.
It's enormous. Yeah, it's bigger than that, Mike. It makes that look. It's maybe another 20% bigger than the 48 scale A6. It's big, and you got to find a place for it. And yeah, so 1/44 is just that's just the sweet spot for most people. It's going to be perfect. It's going to fill up plenty of space on your shelf, but it'll be a good model. It'll be a detailed model. I just love the idea that this C-130, this workhorse with all these antennas and sensors and guns and just bristling with stuff everywhere. The trim pod on the sponsons, all these little weird touches. It's really cool. So
and you can modify them, because like you were talking about the F-86 wings, and I would say F-16 block numbers. You can modify a C-130 in 9 million different ways and never be wrong.
Okay, Dave Fleming says Academy did 144 scale J with the props as well.
Thanks, Dave.
So,
I just know there's people out there who are like into C-130s that have all these kits and are mixing and matching them, and I just haven't heard from any of them yet. I think it's that kind of kit where or that kind of subject, you could have just a mountain of kits. I've got a batch of 72nd scale ones in the garage, but I'm not that into the airplane. But I just know somebody's got to be, especially people who've worked on these things and are modelers.
Oh
yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. Dave Fleming was saying about how to make a standard one from that kit. I think from what I've seen online, I don't think you're going to have to do it from that kit. I think there'll be a standard C-130J along shortly.
Yeah, it'll be right behind it.
I mean, Great Wall are very good at bringing the changes out of their tooling, and they, I mean, the 144 scale, they did a Vulcan and a Victor as well at some point as well.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful little things. So yeah, I don't envisage it being long until one comes along a bit like a boss.
Wow, especially when they see the sales of this thing going through the ceiling.
Yeah, Victor Russell, he's quite right, actually. I completely forgotten about that. He said Academy released a new 144 scale C-130H with standard 4 blades and new 8 blades, not a J, that looks very nice and includes masks. So, yeah.
Well, now you guys all know my absolute ignorance to the small scales. Because I didn't think anybody else did those props, and apparently 19 other companies already have.
Yeah,
So.
I think there seems to be a bit of a resurgence around the 144 scale stuff again.
Sure.
We're talking about that scale thing, because the 144 scales, like we say, 4 of those take up the space of 172nd scale aircraft. That's how scale works. So I was looking at the Poseidon, the show today, the new Academy Poseidon, and yeah, it's still a chunky model in 144 scale, but in 72nd scale, that thing would be
unwieldy.
I may have the pods for that. Yeah.
Oh,
listen, it's not. I wasn't. Listen, I know.
You're on my website right now.
Yeah, it's not for me to build. I just took pictures and
in
sent them
both
to someone.
scales, 72nd and 144th.
The people say car salesmen are bad. Dear, oh dear.
let's
Can I
jump
ask you
on to the
for
next.
Hey, I'm not on often, so I have to pimp my stuff when I can.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Mike. Well, right, next bit of news, and this is hypersonic models. Now, this is a conversion set. I do believe it's 48 scale. It's
Yes.
for the JF-104 Starfighter. Now, I am indebted to www.thisdayinaviation.com because on April the 17th, 1956, Starfighter 552956 was converted to a JF-104A with specialized instrumentation. It was then transferred to the US Navy to test AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles at Naval Ordnance Test Station, China Lake, approximately 55 miles northwest of Edwards Air Force Base in the high desert of Southern California. 552956 was damaged beyond repair when it lost power on takeoff and ran off the runway at Armitage Field on the 15th of June 1959. So, oops, Daisy. So what we've got here are, sorry about that, Chris. I don't know why aren't these images properly formatted here. These are the wingtip pods on it. And that I do declare is the little sensor that sits behind the tailpipe. And then we have the beautifully lathe machined nose probe there with some 3D printed vanes on it. And then we've got, this is obviously 3D printed. And you've got that which drops into the nose as well on the underside of the nose. And there is the aircraft, unusually, as the blurb just said, a starfighter in Navy markings. But sadly, yeah. No.
Like so many starfighters ended up.
Yes.
What was that joke about? How do you get a starfighter? You buy a field in Germany and wait.
Oh. Yeah.
Or at Luke Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But got to say that does look a bit tidy, doesn't it?
Are those puffer jets in the nose? Am I getting the feeling that this is linked somehow to the NF development?
I believe you're right. And frankly, Jeffrey Kubiak at Hypersonic, he researches like no other, and his quality is stupendously good. So if this is a subject that you'd be interested in, it's you can't go wrong with his product.
Didn't he withdraw his two-seater conversion to redo the canopy?
I believe he did.
Yeah, he was all ready to go to market, and someone pointed out that something was wrong with the back section bobble or something, and he withdrew the entire product while he redid it all. Most people would have just chucked it into market. Absolutely, the guy's a real stickler for it being right. So if that's that airplane, it will be that airplane to an absolute tick.
You know what? This is just making me realise I have not built as many starfighters as I should have down the years.
Hey, Mike Williams, real quick, John. It's for the kinetic kit, bud.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something about building another starfighter at some stage to add to the great big long list of other things I want to build this year, but. Anyway, we're going to go from manageable to very good English word.
I have a feeling I know what this is.
Ginormous, which isn't a real word, but here we go. This is models fit.
Oh
models
my God.
fit.
Where are you going to put that?
You can put other models.
You could probably live in it.
Yes.
It's the same guys that clamored for the 48 scale Vulcan.
Yeah, or the 30 scale B-36.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I again, if unless you've got unless you're very gifted in the real estate department, I don't even know how you would display this once it's finished. It's the kind of thing you put in the box in the garage and you show off to your friends.
Well, this
Because the box is as big as your display cabinet.
Yes, as big as your garage.
Models Vit did make a point of on the Facebook post of saying this isn't even all the sprues for the kit. Now,
is that a 6 foot by 4 foot table? 6 foot by 2 foot table. It is. Yeah. 6 foot by 2 foot table.
Now,
and there's no nose on it.
I think the nose is injection molded. In fact, if you go to our Facebook page, there is a link in the post on this that will take you to a page that has far more detailed photographs of this. Mike, what's that fuselage going to be molded out of? Is that like an expanded foam or something?
Fiberglass, maybe.
Fiberglass, yeah.
And by the way, Mike Williams, this is a 124, not a 225.
Oh, what did I say?
No, go back to your first picture.
Go back to my.
That's a different area. That's a different kit.
That's the one that got destroyed in Ukraine.
Oh, of course it is. Goodness me.
That's the predecessor, isn't it?
Yeah, I hadn't noticed. I hadn't noticed that at all. Goodness me, what rookie error that? Yeah, I can see it now. That that we'll save that one for the Christmas bloopers reel.
They're equally big though, aren't they?
Well, the 124 is about the size, a little bit. I can't remember if it's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than the C5. The 225 is bigger than both of them.
Yeah, the 225, quite literally the largest land plane ever built, I do declare. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Goodness me, this is what happens when you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
The 125 is the one that flew into Farnborough to support the MiG-29s the first time they landed in Farnborough, which is what, 1990-ish.
I think it was 1988.
Oh, and the 225 was the carrier for the Buran shuttle, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And the only one left in the world was destroyed in Ukraine at the beginning of the war.
Yep. Also, it flew over to Farnborough in 1990 to accompany the Su-27s that came for the air show back then. And I remember that because I was there. And I've got a photograph somewhere of that the 225 flying over, and I just managed to squeeze it all into the wide-angle lens on my camera. So, right, note to JM, go away and do some proper research on Russian large aircraft.
But that did look like box art for that 225. Unless someone photoshopped it.
No, that was me. Right. Moving on, we're up to our last few items for tonight, and this is ICM and Oops Daisy. They are doing a 48 scale Dornier 217. Now, I'm just doing a bit of research on the fly here because Monogram did do a Dornier 217, but that was the best part of nearly 30 years ago. So it was all part of their Pro modeler range. So
that's right.
Yep.
Right around the same time that ME 110.
That's it.
And the 410.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a new kit utilizing modern day technology is more than welcome. And what a fabulous subject. I'm just looking at that underside there and thinking, oh, goodness me, I don't usually build German bombers, but and that looks, that's the clean version. terrific looking aircraft. Although I do prefer the later ones. This, I would imagine ICM will be giving you canopy masks for this. So if you don't like masking canopies, you may wish to avoid this kit. But if you like the challenge, what a fabulous subject.
I was getting the feeling that somehow Germany during World War II had a hard time molding large transparencies because every one of these bombers has a billion little panes of glass.
And it's just an invite to just kill your aircrew.
Yeah, it's got Target written all over it, hasn't it?
Right.
I rather hate to say that, but yeah, this looks absolutely top dollar. And of course, it's a shame Drew's not here tonight. And of course, with ICM now being part of the hobby company family, there is a very good chance that myself and Drew will be drawing lots as to who gets to build one of these for Telford. So, but he's bigger than me, so I think he wins that one. But
if I were you, I'd quite happily let him do that because most of them were covered in that blooming annoying squiggle camouflage.
Yes, yeah. and also, frankly, I really don't fancy doing all that masking. So,
I'm even more concerned about how the glass fits.
Yeah.
You know, it's the masking. I mean, that can be overcome, right? But if that glass is a millimeter off in any direction, it's just going to be a sanding nightmare.
Yeah,
and that's Mike talking from building a DML/Dragon JU-188.
That's to be honest, compared to that ICM kit, that's a very different kettle of fish, my friend.
I was just going to say this is ICM,
but it scares me. I've got that trauma.
They do tend to be quite.
Andy Kingspread, I've built the ICM 217J. It's a lovely kit. Well, that was the night fighter version of that aircraft. If you switch the engines over, you can convert the K into an M and the J into an N.
Very nice.
One of them's got inline engines and one's got
wasted.
radials. And that was literally, there were two concurrent production lines, one being radial aircraft and one with inline aircraft engines, and the same fuselage.
All right.
Because that's why I did my Hilarious skill ones many years ago.
Here we go. Mike Williams says, squiggle camo equals Molotow paint markers.
Will you excuse me for a minute? I've something just come up. I need to disappear.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
I think Mike's on the nose with that. I think Mike's figured. Mike's one of these people who's cracked the code around how to do that weird mirror wave finish.
Yeah.
So
like don't try to your airbrush. That's just insanity.
Yeah,
really quick on the different versions of that. So I'm going to give him some homework, and I want a written explanation from him on every block number of the F-16. Bet you can't do it.
well, we've got two more items. We've got three more items rather to rattle off tonight.
All right.
So we've got four more items to rattle off tonight. Right, we've covered this one before. This is air scale, and this is their 32nd scale bolt and pull Defiant that they are bringing out. 3D printed kit. It looks absolutely incroyable. In fact, it looks so incroyable, it gets an incroyable. These aren't renders; these are actual images of the actual model itself. I love the rivet detail on it. Just everything about this, I love. I love how they've got the fasteners on the engine panels, the cowling. They've got those raised fasteners. Oh my goodness me, this is the gun. That's insane, isn't it? And there we go. Some more stuff of the gun and the cockpit. The cockpit, you say? Oh,
yikes!
Yikes! Zoinks, Scoob. That looks fairly substantial, doesn't it? So
I have one question.
How much?
I don't even care about the price. Where's the clear parts? What are the clear parts going to look like? Because I can tell you, if they're 3D printing them, that's probably going to be a delay for them, because clear, I don't care if you're casting resin or if you're printing resin, they almost have to go with a vacuum form or injection molded, because that's the one thing that has me nervous about that. And not one photo I've seen of that kit is there a piece of clear on it. The kit itself looks stupidly beautiful, and I'm sure it's going to have a stupidly beautiful price. But the clear parts, I'm telling you.
Here's your answer. According to Craig Sargent, he says injection molded clear parts on the Defiant.
Well, there you go. Good.
Very nice.
Just going to say that's what they've said on their Facebook page.
Good. I didn't read that part. So
Viewer David says the kit looks so good it could get a job in the fire escape trade. Viewer David knows our he knows our little in jokes here. It's a Genesis song. And here we go. Hobby Time also says there are going to be injection molded clear parts. Right. Fantastic. We're gonna muscle on with we've got Res Kit here. Some new figures they are doing for the ICM CH54 TAR. Is it TAR? How do you pronounce that, Mike? Tahi,
yeah.
So, and these look to be scanned figures. Yet again, 3D printing, absolutely knocking it out of the park. Just fabulous. What can I say? But they're doing ground crew. They're also doing air crew. So they're doing air crew in late seats and early seats. So there we go. So there's we got these a bit mixed up. So pilots in early seats and pilots in late seats, and you get them with helmets with the visors down. So if you don't like painting eyes, that's sorted for you. And there's the other ground crew as well. Yeah, they're not bad, are they, Mike?
No, they're not. They look nice. I mean, ResKit does great stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a competitor, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, because we are in completely different realms of the size of our company.
Mm-hmm.
They do some stupidly good stuff. I could also say they do some terribly bad stuff, but that's neither here nor there. But those look tremendously good.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one of those Tahi built up today at the show. That is a big ass model.
It is.
That is a big thing.
Yep.
It was on the Airfix magazine guys. A lot of their contributors, they'd given them like a 6-foot table to bring models down. There was one on one of those tables, and I thought, walked past him, did double take, and was like, blimey. And it's this sort of size. It's a fabulous piece.
The diameter of the rotors is crazy. It's like what, maybe about 2.5 feet in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to start making use of my 3D scanner.
Every one of your figures will look like you, Mike, wearing different clothes.
Well, just fat, ugly, and no hair. Yeah.
I like to think of it as a continuation of your military haircut. That's all.
You've always done that to me.
the model you guys were at the show today, and I had a look at some of their stuff, and that's they've got some impressive little figure sets and bits and pieces.
They seem to have a gift for posing the people they scan in just the right position, so they look like they're doing the thing they should be doing.
Right.
That's not that easy.
Unlike the old robot pose.
Well, yeah, he's
man with enormously low oversized spanner who was in about 4 different monogram kits in various bits of overhaul.
And there were a lot of aftermarket figures who had well done upper torsos, and then the sculptor ran out of scale height and they have like elf legs.
Yeah.
So
is that Frodo? Yeah.
I am just going to find one of the. I'm just going to find our link to those images last week, because oh goodness me, Facebook's just thrown a wobbly at me, because the one of the RAF pilots who's glugging a mug of tea, and he literally is the guy, the model, the actor that they got to pose for that has nailed it. He really is kind of like gulping down a cup of tea. There he is.
It was probably actually a mug of beer, and they got him doing it.
Here we go. Share screen. And we need a new image for that. There we go. There he is on the right hand side, and that is such a brilliant pose.
Yes.
But he is
got the right amount of slouch, hasn't it?
You what? Sorry.
The right amount of slouch.
Yes. Yes.
Kind of rolled back shoulder, hand in pocket. That's absolutely cock on.
That's every person at a Starbucks without a lid on their coffee I've ever seen.
I love this little threesome because first of all, there's not enough figures doing hand flying, which is pilots talking. That's what it looks like. But you got the guy who's doing the hand flying. You got the guy who's listening to his story intently, and you got the old timer veteran going like, "Oh, good God,
whatever,
this is ridiculous." Yeah. So
it's a fish story to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me guess how big that fish was.
Love it.
They've done a nice set of the guys marking up the board.
Mm.
The one guy holding it and the other guy sort of kneeling down and writing across it. And they had that printed out in 24 scale and in 48 scale on the stand. And that's a lovely, just two figures in isolation that tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's absolutely, yeah, I've just seen that.
Very good.
And it's Spencer drinking the tea.
No, I'm sorry, it can't be because there's too much hair in that across those three figures.
No. Is the guy on the left eating a biscuit? I think he is. God, it's making me feel hungry now.
They've got one. I think they've got one with a guy eating a sandwich or some shape or form in one.
No.
The thing with the 3D scanning, of course, is you can be that realistic in because you're scanning the correct anatomy, the correct way that the muscle, the way things have bent and turned and held and stuff. Sometimes, and we've all seen it, those sculpted figures where you look at it and go, can an elbow actually bend that way?
Right. They tend to be a bit too posed. Whereas this is, I mean, I was at their studio in Bristol last year and saw them doing it was one of the Luftwaffe pilots that they were scanning at the time. And honestly, the booth, it's like the transporter room at the Enterprise. It's just really, but it's fabulous process to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. As a dumb question, and I know we're kind of running short on time. When you were there and they were doing the German pilot, was he in period clothing?
Yeah.
So that's where you kind of could run into a problem with some of this stuff. Is the people doing the scanning need to be able to obtain these uniforms and clothing that were period. I mean, maybe some of the mechanics and stuff like that you can get away from if they're wearing a t-shirt or whatever, but like you have to have the period clothing. They work like the wrinkles, and the way that particular the material of that bends and folds and things. So
they work with a company called Up and Atom History. And they specialize in historical reenactments. So yes, they are very hot on making sure everything is as accurate as it can be in terms of sourcing stuff in the first quarter of the 21st century. Right. Diving on to the last two items for tonight, and this is IBG models. Oh my goodness me, I so want to get one of these. This is 72nd scale. It's a Panzer II Ausf B with fuel trailer, but as you can see from the images, it's not your usual Panzer II, because this is the one with the weird road wheel arrangement. There are obviously other detailed differences as well. Essentially, injection molded IBG kit, but IBG are supplying the fuel trailer and other details as 3D printed items. I absolutely love the Panzer II. It's one of my favorite tanks, and I will be out to get one of these and featuring it on the channel as and when I can get one.
Smoke discharges on the back.
I think they are.
Yeah.
That's it. They're very much like, because I was looking at them thinking they're like the Tiger installation, the ones you saw on the turrets of Tiger ones. Yeah.
I love that little track hammock in the front to hold the wheels. That's very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be a lovely little thing, because their little tankies are very cute and very nicely detailed. So if they've got the temptation is though that sometimes the 3D printed bits can be considerably better in detail than the basic. This comes back to the conversation with Mike and talking about aftermarket bits. Sometimes you're getting 3D printed parts, particularly for the 72nd scale kits, that are of an age that actually are of a better quality than the kit you're putting them on to the detriment of the finished model.
Mm-hmm.
In that you've then got to spend a lot of time and effort trying to bring up the plastic you started with to a standard.
I guess in the 72nd scale, this thing's all of what, 4 inches, maybe 5 inches long.
Yep, tiny.
Yeah. I think that in this case it could be apples to oranges with the printed stuff, but in 48, 35th, you start getting into the bigger scales. Absolutely, you can start seeing that difference.
Yeah.
Dave Fleming also makes a very good point that Model U are also doing some RNLI figures for the Airfix Shannon class lifeboat in 72nd scale. And as Dave says, for the lifeboat figures, they got an actual RNLI person in to scan. I thought we had an image of that tonight, but unfortunately we don't. We haven't got it. But yeah. Last one for tonight. This is our and finally moment. And finally, this is IBG again. They are doing in their first 48 scale kit, and it's the M18 Dromeda. Dromeda, I think we'll go for. We'll sound a bit posh. This was also previewed at Mosen over the weekend. What can we say about this? Not the prettiest aeroplane, I think it's fair to say. These were
looks a lot like an ag cat out here.
Yeah.
Well, this is what IBG say. They say IBG Models is entering 1/48 scale domain. Our first aircraft in this scale, prepared in cooperation with Grand Models, will hit the stores in 2025. The PZL M18 Dromeda in single and two-seat pilot and mechanic versions in agricultural, firefighting, and even military configurations, reproduced with great accuracy and attention to detail. More data about this and other projects for 2025 coming soon. But yeah, not a pretty aeroplane, but oh goodness me, that looks incredibly fragile, doesn't it? I'm getting kittens.
Wow.
Looking at that.
Looking at it.
Didn't we cover another manufacturer releasing at the beginning of the year? Was it Edward?
Edward did a Melek, which is I think a Czech home-built agricultural plane, but there seems to be a proliferation of these finally on the market of different types. They all look, you could say it's like convergent evolution. They all look sort of the same because they're optimized for the same task. But yeah, it's a great subject, and talk about opportunities for weathering and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I see Jamie Hago all over this.
Yeah. I think Jamie sees Jamie Hago all over this.
Yeah, that just makes me feel slightly kind of queasy, but
this is cool though.
That to me looks like I'd have to kind of like really lower the pressure down on the airbrush, because I think anything above 15 psi and things would just be going flying. But no, this does look interesting. IBG choosing for their first 48 scale kit to go for go for something that what's the word we're looking for? Niche? No.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That spray rig is phenomenal, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. But the detail on these renders, it does look like it just looks utterly fabulous. So might have to put the old hand in the old pocket and bag one of these for the show. But yeah, I just think that I've got the Edward did some crop spraying aircraft, and I bought one of them. It was like a double kit. And I did offer one to Drew, and I don't know why he didn't take it, but there we go. Fabulous. You can't say, when people go, oh God, not another F-16. It's like, well, there's your answer. You don't want another F-16. What do you want?
Have another dromedary instead.
Yeah, and then not another obscure Polish crop spraying airplane, for goodness sake.
Now we just need some big, goofy-looking farmer in overalls to pose and and get 3D scanned, climbing into his cockpit, kind of like it reminds me of what's his name from Independence Day.
Independence Day. I was just going to say.
I'm pilot.
Jim Belushi?
Randy Quaid.
No, it's
that's right.
Quaid. Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the.
It was Randy Quaid, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was Randy Quaid.
Yeah, it's one of the Quaids. Right, gents. We've overrun a little bit tonight, but this is why it's fun when we have the four of us here. So here we go. Any other business?
I've got a finished model.
Go on.
Please go on. Look, I finished one.
Oh my goodness me! He's finished a model. Everybody.
Another one.
It's like the fourth one this week.
There was a run of it. It did happen. So this is the sister car to the orange and white one. This is the other Mitsubishi Lancer. Cool. But I love this little kit. As bits of fun plastic molding go, that is an absolute doozy. And the decals are beautiful. The decals are printed like gorgeous. I ended up having to make my own mud flaps because the Photo X ones would not conform to the arches at all. Mm-hmm. So there's some quite flexible plastic card in the back of that. But yeah, quite pleased with that.
I dig it.
Is the 555 the sponsor on that, Ian?
Yeah, it's tobacco. It's a tobacco brand, isn't it? It's
okay.
So when you buy the kit, you get the standard kit comes with the chevron shapes, which were for markets where you couldn't put tobacco sponsorship on cars. The car ran because this is the Hong Kong to Beijing rally from '85, where they hadn't banned tobacco sponsorship in China at the time, so it ran with the 555s. But if you buy the upgrade set that comes with the kit, or that you can buy with the kit, the little sub decal hidden away in the packaging with the 555s in it, they kind of split horizontally. But yeah, when you build something and you just fall in love with it, this is it. It's an absolute doozy of a kit. But there are only two of them at the minute, and I built both of them. So now I'm wondering if there'll be another one along at some point, which would be nice.
Have you taken any beauty shots of that, Ian?
I posted them into the Facebook page.
Okay.
Both the orange and white one and that last week at some point.
Oh goodness me! I don't know how I've missed that. All right, I'll go and have a look after the show. Chris, any other business?
Not really. I'm planning our contest in June, Silicon Valley Scale Modelers contests, and people like Mike are stepping up to send in stuff for our raffle, which is great because weirdly enough, the raffle pays for the next year's contest. So it
really does help.
Yeah, it's a nice thing in the United States. That's kind of the way it works, and we're looking forward to it. And one of the cool things is there's a hobby shop in San Jose specializing in Gundams and mechas and stuff like that, and they have been coming to the contest for a couple of years, and now they are sponsoring special awards for their community, and it's really cool to see them integrating with the traditional modeling subjects. So
hit me up if you need any aircraft sponsors. I might be able to do one for you.
I'll let you know, Mike. That'd be great.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Mike. Mike, any other business?
No, just keep an eye out soon for stuff for these.
Finally, some
Jaguar
proper
and
kit.
anywhere.
Cool. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. I'm just gonna quickly, very quickly, just go to my workbench camera because I have got the ICM Montes Caravan here, which I've got to say is absolutely no. We're going to have to zoom out a bit, I'm afraid. Absolutely packed with bits and pieces. I have finally got round to finishing off the assembly for the engine, which was quite a task. But yes, there are quite a few sprues in this kit, so that's going to keep me busy for the next couple of weeks, quite frankly.
I'll match you sprue count with my Border Lancaster. How about that?
Well, bear with. I'm just looking.
I think there's 40 or 50 sprues in that kit.
Right. I need a consensus tonight because I need to choose a color scheme for this kit. Now, you can do it, and this is where the viewers can chip in as well. So you can do it as an overall sand one, desert sand one. You can do it overall desert sand, but with green disruptive camouflage, or you can just do an overall green one. My gut feeling originally was just go for the green one for simplicity, but the masochist in me wants to do the camo one.
So you're splitting the goalposts and doing both colors that are options as single colors.
Yeah, at some point it will have scheme number 1 on it, and then it'll turn into scheme number 2.
Right. Or it could actually start as scheme number 2 if you're doing it backwards.
That's right.
Or scheme number 3 and go back to scheme 2.
Yeah.
If you mess the camouflage up, you just choose all one or all the other.
I was just going to say, if I make an absolute horlicks of that, I'm just going to carry on with the green, and then we're on to that one. So I'm just having a look. I quite fancy that.
I like the first one.
Yeah, the thing is, I've done the Italeri Bedford QL, and I've done that as a desert one in overall kind of sand.
Well, then you shouldn't have given that as a choice.
You've got a point,
John. Let's just face it. You've already settled on scheme 2.
Well,
now you just want validation.
That's true. But what I need to do is go and have a look at period photographs of this one in the camo to ascertain if it is a hard edge camo or if it's a soft edge camo. But that is, quite frankly, that is some weeks away at the moment. But
Ian, is that an R8 behind you?
It is.
What? Sorry. Oh, right.
It's the new kit. It's an ongoing project. I have actually. Have you got a space for one little quick more AOB?
Go on. Yep.
Have you heard of? Have you met Lisa Wells of the Crafting Well?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the engine bay in the new BMAX R8 is a one-piece molding, and as you can see, you have to put quite a few colors into it. On my, I would say, insistence, request, shall we say, Lisa's done a masking set for it, which makes life an awful lot easier. So that took it about 2 and 3 hours yesterday, rather than about a week of careful masking, because she's done all the hard work already.
That's great.
Wow.
It's just a nice little. In fact, he says.
Is that actually available on her Facebook page?
It is available on her website and on her Facebook page.
We'll link it. We'll put a link up for that.
So, and what you basically get, there's 3 in here because I've got another God knows how many of these to build. It's obviously she does hers on kabuki tape, on the lovely stuff, rather than the vinyl that a lot of people use, and they're just So I did 2 side by side in an afternoon. In the time it would have taken me probably just to mask half of it for the first color. So it was painted all with the dark gray, mask out the dark gray areas, paint the pale gray, mask that out, paint the red, mask that out, paint the exhaust colors in, demask, done, wash. Probably about 4 hours in total, rather than when I did my first one before she did this. I think it took me 3 days of, for want of a better phrase, fannying around masking to get to anything like. But so she's taken all the hard work out of it and made it into a nice little product. And it's a genius little idea that of mine and hers. So yeah,
great.
I'm gonna go and find the link for that and put the link on our Facebook page. So there we go. If you head over to thecraftingwell.uk, they do quite a lot of. Actually, do you know what? We'll go over there right now.
She's just launched a new product range, Jonathan, today of laser cut wooden doodads, which is brilliant.
Yep. Oh no, the link's gone down. Oh well, we'll put that up on the Facebook page. Simon Lewis has come up with a great idea. He says, do one side camera, the other side, and the other side, and can't face the model either way. Yeah, I thought about that. But that's it, chaps. That's it. My any other business. Do I have any other business? Of course, I've got any other business. Yes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's football, Mike. Where a foot actually impacts a ball.
Yeah. We actually play football with our feet, not throwing them around with our hands. So we call that rugby.
I didn't name it. It's not Chris's fault. We didn't name the game of football.
Actually,
there was a great. I think you had the audacity to call it American football as well.
Somebody's explaining that way back when the reason that there's soccer and there's rugby and there's American gridiron football is because there was all these different football games floating around, around the turn of the 20th century. And somebody in Great Britain sat down and said, "Okay, here's how it works. Association football is the one where you kick it toward the goal, and then Ruggers football is the version where you have guys running each other willy-nilly, and then gridiron football is that a weird American version where they play it on a field with lines and stuff, and then association football morphed into soccer because that's what happens to words sometimes, and Ruggers turned into rugby, and that actually made sense because just there was no coherent sports rules back then. We were making them all up as we went. If you look at baseball versus cricket versus rounders versus all the things that, sticks and balls games, they all were a little bit the same. And I'm sure everybody everywhere played it a little bit differently, so I don't get too upset about it. I always find it funny when people bash on American football for the foot touching the ball, like for
what, 3 times a game,
8 times a game.
As you know, I love watching American football, although I do support Seattle Seahawks, so the word love and isn't actually involved that often. But it's just nice to take the mickey out of Mick.
The number of times I have sat in this workshop in a freezing January listening to the Super Bowl live on Radio 5. Absolutely love it. Drinking lots of I don't drink coffee, but drinking the strongest caffeine I've got just to stay awake so that I can listen to it. Yeah, but
having done radio sports in the past, football is perfect for the radio.
No,
it's not even
it's slow enough.
It's in stages. It's episodic. Play. It's not like football. and it's a continuous thing, and it's not that easy to describe what's going on all the time on the radio. There are really good radio announcers.
We have 30 seconds between plays.
Yeah, exactly. So there's
color
and
TV person or a radio announcer can go, okay, so here's what happened with this play. Maybe they should look at doing this. So there's some strategy that they can start looking at. It's
easier.
Or we have an advert break.
There's spaces for it. I listen to World Cup games on the radio, and it's like I have a really hard time envisioning it sometimes because I'm not a regular viewer of football. So I can't visualize it. But football, American style football is really just dead simple, stupid, easy to talk about. So
most American sports are.
Listening to the radio. Yeah, American sports are stupider than European sports. Let's face it. But it works well for the radio. So listening to a broadcast like that, I totally get it. I'm sure it's fun working on a model with that in the background because I've done.
Whereas we're a ice hockey family, so we won't get into that one tonight, but we'll talk about it sometime.
We will. We'll have our sports edition at some stage.
I actually think that would be fun.
I think it would actually. I think
the club in Fresno in California every year they have a contest in February and they call it the Sprue Bowl because it's Super Bowl nanogram, and then they have an award for subjects that share the same name as a football team, which I think is pretty funny.
That is neat.
The Tiger. The Lions, that kind of thing.
The Vikings,
yeah, exactly.
The Cardinals.
The Rangers.
On that note, I am just going to say a big thank you to Chris, Mike, and Ian. A big thank you to everybody who has tuned in tonight. God bless you for watching. Frankly, 4 middle-aged men wittering on about their love of plastic toys. Fingers crossed, we'll be back next Sunday for another Sunday service, and there might be a pop-up live during the week. Who knows? Until the next time, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So, bye for now.
Thanks, guys.